Hello and welcome to another screencast by Teach Me to Code. This is Eric Berry. I'm going to be going over how to use domain or URL based variables so that you can actually load different themes or skins based on the URL. So if I come in with myapp1.com, it'll load one template, and myapp2.com will load a separate template, but it's all going off of the same application. So here you can see I created a simple Grails application with two layouts, and here's my files over here. Here's my I have a home controller, and this is the index.gsp file within the home controller, and I have a light and a dark layout. And the only differences you could see is right here, the light CSS and the dark CSS. So those are the two layouts that I have. And to show you what they look like, here is my dark. And if I switch this back to light, so it will use the light layout, that's what it looks like. So knowing this, I want to create the ability for me to load up from the domain and get that working. So the way I want to do this is by creating a filter. And to create a filter, in fact, there is not a quick thing here. So actually you go into Tools and run Grails Target, and you do Create Filters, and then whatever your path is, we'll call it Skin Loader. And we'll go through and create the filter that we need to be able to do this. So once that's done, you should see in your configuration, you'll see that you have your file, Skin Loader Filters. And because right now all I really want to do this for is the home controller, so I'm going to set it for home. And here we can actually print out or perform our actions right here. So the first thing I want to do is make sure that we're working, and so I want to just print line, let's get the server name, and then we could see in our logs that it is working, to make sure it is working. So here, let's load up our logs. Let me bring this out so we could look at it separately. And I believe anytime we work with filters, we have to restart our server, but just in case I'm wrong, let's give this a shot. Let's refresh this and come over here. No, I'm wrong, we don't need to. So you can see it is printing it out localhost. So what we can do to test this is we can go in and modify our hosts file. Now if you're on a Mac or Linux, it's usually an etc/hosts, and then you can just add to your localhost right here. So let's do berry.local and eric.local, and that way both of those will act as URLs. And then you'll see as we come into our, I think I don't need this anymore, as we come into our website, instead of using localhost, we can do berry.local and hit enter, and then you'll see right here is our URL. Same with eric.local. So in fact, let's change those, now that I think about it, from those to dark and light, and so that way we'll be able to I guess differentiate a little bit easier on our testing. So let's do light. Okay, so there we go. You see that we do have those. So first I want to show you the wrong way to do it, and this is actually the way I started doing it initially. Let me pull that out of the way. What I did initially was I created a standard file. I just created a new file. Hold on here. I usually use the project view. So I just created a new file and I called it skins.groovy. And in here you can create your you can create your config file. Let's say we have skins, and we'll do dark, and we'll call this one name my dark website, and CSS path equals, I guess we need an equals right here. Let's say the CSS path to that is dark.css, and we're going to create one for light as well, and my light website and light.css. So excuse me. So now that we have that, what we're able to use is what they call a config slurper, and for me to use that, I need to look at the documentation. So if I go right here under groovy.codehouse.org/config slurper, they do have some examples. So I'm going to copy and paste this. I'm going to stick it right in here. And config, I believe, is a reserved word, so I'm going to just call it skins. And let me shrink this over so you can see the whole thing. So it says create a new config slurper and then parse the file. And then this right here is pointed to the application root, so skins.groovy. So if I do this, and then I print line skins.inspect, now we can take a look and see what that puts out. If I refresh this, you'll see right here it does create a hash, or a map I mean, and the map contains both the dark and the light portions of it. So that does work. Excuse me. And the way I would continue from here is I would say, okay, well, there was one thing I wanted to add to this is URL. So let's say dark.local, and this one URL is light.local. Okay, so now we can do a test and say if request.servername and use a regex to see if it matches the skins dot, well, let's do this in a loop. So for skin in skins, and the thing with this is that that's actually going to return a map. So I actually want to do skins.values. So if I do for skin and skins.values, it will return this portion, this portion right here, and then this portion right here. And we don't really care about this part quite yet. In fact, that doesn't really matter in our case. So so we have skin.url. So here we're testing to see if the server name contains the URL that we've assigned to that skin. If it is, so let's do session.skin equals skin, and print line, we found our skin. All right, and then if all else fails, we can always do a fallback, or let's call it the just in case skin, and we'll just say this is neither, and we'll default to the main.css, and we'll just do anything. So I guess it doesn't really matter there. So okay, so if we go through here and the skin doesn't load, so here we could say if session, or if the session dot skin is null, we're going to say session dot skin equals skins dot just in case. So there we go. Actually, I don't want that on my for loop, so let's put it right there, and that should work. Let's put a little print line here, loaded the just in case skin. So, and now that we have that, let's go back to our index. I want to just print out our session.skin.inspect, so that way we can make sure that it is working. So let me refresh this, and you see it's an empty hash right now. And let's figure out what's going on with that. Let's see here. Looks like what's happening is our skins, even though we haven't named skins, it's loading another hash, or another map, I mean, named skins. Just to show that, let's do this where we can print line skins.skins.inspect. I know this is getting a little bit confusing, and if you've seen my stuff, you know that's typically what happens. So if I go back to our console here, let me just refresh this, and let's try this again. Where did my... There it is. So if I refresh that, and you'll see now that we have skins.skins.inspect, you note that we are loading them properly. So what I need to do is either fix my naming convention, so skins container, I'll call it that, and then let's get rid of this, and skins container.skins.values. That way we are a little bit more legible here. And if we do that, then that should load up the proper URL. So let me just print line out the URL here, skin.url, and then we should show it. So let's go back and refresh our site, and we'll come down here, and we have a URL. The first one we found it. The second one we did not find it, but it's still printed we found it, which is odd. So let me clear that and refresh it. So let's print this out. Print line, and see what happens here. Print line, results. So there we go. We have it's looking for a match, and maybe it doesn't like the dot in the in that. So let's go in and change our thing here to actually make it so it is regex, and then that doesn't help. Well, as you all know by now, this is how my screencast goes, and in order to avoid doing it again and again and again, we just go through this process. So I learn as you learn, same thing. Okay, so it says we have a match. That just doesn't make sense to me. Let's do dark. Oops. Let's try the dark one. And well, let's print out the skin that we're using here. So we found our skin, and it is skin.name. And do we have a name on here? Yeah. So let's print out our skin.name, refresh that. We found our skin neither. We found our skin dark website. So it did find neither. Okay. The reason is because of this. So what we can do on this case is probably just pass in something that shouldn't be ever called. So let's do blah blah blah. It's probably bad practice, but that's how I'm doing it. Alright, so there we go. Now it is working. It shows that we have our dark website here, and we go to light, and we have our light site. So the reason I don't like doing it this way is because every single request we're doing a parse on this config file, and I think that's a little excessive. But before we go any further, let's go ahead and set this right here. So we'll do session.skin. CSS path. So let's do, instead of doing CSS path, why don't we just say layout. So layout is main, layout is light, and layout is dark. So we'll do light, and we'll do dark. Okay. Let's see what's going on here. And it doesn't like what I put here, dot layout. So if I refresh that now, you see that it is light. And if I do dark, you see it loads my dark. So this is pretty cool. Let's do one more thing here and actually add it to our configuration file within the Grails application. So I'm going to take this big chunk and I'm going to stick it inside our config file, which is in Grails app conf and then config.groovy. I'll just stick it down here at the bottom. And this will load up my skins directly into the configuration when it loads for the application. So that way we're not having to load it again and again and again. So let's go back to our skin loads filter, and we don't need this anymore. So let's comment that out, and now we're still going to get the same thing, but the way to get that is by using our configuration holder. So we use configuration holder.config.skins. So, but now it doesn't know what that is. So if I hold Command Enter, Option Enter, there we go. Hit Option Enter, now it'll import the package that I need. So there we go. It's a lot easier, and it comes straight out of the Grails config file, or Grails configuration. And so now if we, why don't we just stop it and start it real quick, and then we'll see that it does actually work the exact same way. Only difference is we're not loading it tons and tons of times. Okay, here we go. And, oh, something's wrong. No such property skins for berry.skinnable.skin loads filter on line 23. Because it doesn't know what that is, so I'm going to do skins container. Actually, we don't need skins container anymore. We're going straight to skins. We don't need the container. It parses it ourselves, or it parses it by itself. So if I do that and take that out, I believe that should work. And there we go. So light.local, and you'll see that it is the light. Dark.local, you'll see that it's the dark. This screencast is sponsored by Jumpstart Lab. Jumpstart Lab offers private and corporate training in Ruby, Rails, and related technologies. They're experienced educators, not just good developers, and will get you going quickly. Courses can be scheduled in the US or around the world, and curriculum customized to meet your needs. Learn more at jumpstartlab.com. This screencast is also sponsored by ClutterPad, the most awesome online project management and collaboration tool ever. Sign up now to get the chance to use it at www.clutterpad.com.
That was wonderful.
Bravo!
I loved that.
Oh, it was great.
Well, it was pretty good.
Well, it wasn't bad.
Well, there were parts of it that weren't very good, though.
It could have been a lot better.
I didn't really like it.
It was pretty terrible.
It was bad.
It was awful.
It was terrible.
Get him away!
Hey, boo!
Boo!